Welcome everybody, this is Rewrite Your Reality with Reese. I am your host, and on today's video I'm going to go through a very deep dive into reality creation, manifestation, and the infinite self-knowing. Basically everything you need to understand about reality creation, manifesting, and what your desired dream life actually means and how to experience it right now, in the knowing that everything exists right now. So, a unified expression of ideas, a unified expression of reality, a unified expression of images, of thoughts, of stories, of people, events, and circumstances. That is the fundamental claim, that all of this is the combination of reality as a world that does not exist separately from the awareness that is experiencing that same world. You see, reality as we know it is anything that we can think of. That must be reality, because we only consider the three-dimensional experience to be real, because from a 3D physical linear standpoint, of course that's what we're going to consider real. Things we can't really feel in this now moment physically, we don't consider real. What we can see, what we can taste, what we can touch, basically what our three-dimensional senses are telling us are real, is the only thing we consider to be real. So what are emotions then? What are thoughts? What are memories of the past? You see, we believe in our past because we have the remembrance of a physical identity that we experienced physically, so that means that past must have been real. It no longer is real, but the effects of that past seem to be here with us now. So that means it's evidence of a past having been called into existence and experienced, and the effects of those things exist here now. So where's the future then? Well, if that's the way the past works in our understanding, our limited mind, then whatever we do now is building upon that future, even though we can't see it. We still believe in that future being built, but we believe in the brick that we're building it with existing right now. This is a limited viewpoint, but it is an experience in reality. Very simply, otherwise we wouldn't be able to even experience that at all. The fact that we can means it is an experience of reality. So what does the totality of everything actually mean then? Well, reality is the totality of everything that can be known and the act of knowing it as itself. See, there is no separate observer navigating a universe, and that's how we consider our three-dimensional body, something that exists here as an avatar within the world. A very familiar word, avatar of God. That's what your physical body is, and you are existing in the world God created, right? That's how we think about these things. Now, recognize, NevilleGoddard said everyone is you pushed out. Everyone is EIYPO, right? Everyone is you pushed out. I just want to expand that just a little. Everyone and everything is you pushed out. So double E, right? The knower, the knowing, and the known are the same thing, the same energy, the same consciousness, the same knowing pushed out as one idea. So instead of your body being the avatar of God, your physical experience of reality in this now moment is the avatar of God, as in the depiction of what God is in this very now moment. It has no meaning. I think A Course in Miracles says nothing means anything. You don't understand anything, and anything you do understand is meaningless anyway. Because reality, bringing it right down, is just. Reality is just. Reality is. Reality is this, that. I am. It has no meaning outside of you giving it a meaning, but the meaning you are giving it is basically the story that is unfolding as the reality experience, because every single snapshot of reality doesn't have a meaning. It may have an appearance of things happening, but those appearances of those things happening don't have a meaning outside of the appearance of it happening. You see, if I were to drink water, or you see someone drinking water, you would assume that they are thirsty and they are drinking water, and we give that the meaning. But outside of that appearance of them drinking water, them being thirsty, that's just an appearance. It's a never-ending cycle of meaning to appearance, but it's just appearances. It doesn't mean anything else outside of it. It doesn't mean there's a version of you that is thirsty or not thirsty. It doesn't mean anything. Reality is therefore infinite knowing itself. That means anything that you can contemplate, you are contemplating it as reality. The very idea of you giving an idea to something is you as reality calling forth the expression of the idea, the thoughts, images, and feelings that reality has that even combine to become the idea that you are giving to another feeling or knowing or image, which is still you coming together into that idea to know it. So you are conjuring from yourself to know another version of yourself that you have conjured. It's all just you. It's all just reality. You're looking at your phone screen. You need to understand your phone screen, right? You need to understand your phone. You need to understand how it works. So if you go to the help and you go to the YouTube video about how this thing works, what's actually happening? This screen is rearranging frequency and sound and light and energy to show you what that sound, energy, and light and all of those things can be as the phone working. That's what reality is. So whatever you're contemplating and thinking is reality rearranging itself for you as reality to understand how you as reality works. It's only ever that. It's literally the same thing. There is no other being outside of this. For example, nothing outside of you is helping you within the parameters of your phone working. Right? Sure, somebody can tell you, but within the phone itself, it's just that. Nothing's controlling it, nothing's doing anything. It's one finite system. Reality is one infinite finite experiencing of a system. There is only reality experiencing itself. So if you were to conjure the image of reality and everything that can be experienced within that, recognize that if you were to compact it and you would wonder, well, what's outside of it, which is the typical idea of reality, where you consider this being reality and something that reality must be existing in. But you are the one creating that box when there's nothing here except more of reality being nothing in order for you to have the idea reality is in this box. But ultimately, there's no end, there's no beginning, there's no start, there's no finish, there's only right here and right now where everything coexisted as one unified moment, and we are expressing that unified moment as the moment. Now, we have a non-linear understanding of reality and a linear understanding of reality. Both work together. Reality is non-linear. That means everything exists together. They all coexist. But in order for you to experience the allness of coexistence itself, you experience one form of reality, moment to moment to moment. So we experience it sequentially, not necessarily linearly, but I have the idea that linear means straight line and unfolding in a solid, objective way. Because we do not understand that those moments that make up a linear expression are individualized, finite moments of an expression. It's kind of mathematical in that way, where if you have a formula, and you all did this in school, right? Hopefully. We all did this in school, right? But you have a formula, and that formula is going to give you a certain output. Now, regardless of what the output looks like, it's going to be a dot, a dot, a dot, a dot, a dot, and a dot. So finite expressions of an infinite system. That's what reality is. Your assumption is basically a formula of who you are right now. That depiction of the graph is the life that you live, but it's seemingly linear, but it's all made up of finite, infinite moments that just keep going. So A, B, C is actually one expression of one formula, of one assumption of I am that which I say I am. And all the dots just come together, the ones that refer to what you are assuming, and make that pattern of your life that you are living. Cause and effect. What's the cause? The formula. What's the formula? I am that which I say I am. I am who I imagine myself to be. I am choosing this version of my life, and I know I have chosen this version of my life. I know I have chosen this equation. This is who I am. And you know, when you have an equation, the equation automatically has a past, as in it has things that goes back. It has a present. It has wherever you are working with the equation right then and there. It has a future. You know, it keeps on going. So the assumption, an equation, an affirmation, is basically a past, present, or future on a Cartesian plane, which is a three-dimensional experience, all happening now. And we interpret it using our graph, which is our mind, which is our human experiencing with our senses. Our senses filter out everything of reality. See, a page can be anything, but you are the one consciously filtering what that page's anything of potential can be in that moment. Nothing moves from point to point. You see, any point on a graph, any point in reality doesn't become the next one. Any point in reality does not become the next point. It's another point that exists and has already and always existed after that point. So nothing moves. All possibilities coexist, all identities coexist, all experiences coexist. They are superimposed within the same reality. If you were to combine that graph into a very small point, the graph would not be confused, you would be, because you don't understand it expressed in that way. But the graph doesn't get confused. The computer that you collapsed it with doesn't get confused. It knows exactly what it is. So if you were to realize that reality is actually existing in a small, compacted, non-local, zero, undefinable point of knowing that doesn't exist anywhere, that just exists as itself, it would only ever have to just know what it is. And because it's infinite knowing, it knows what it is. What appears as movement or progression is simply awareness becoming conscious of different aspects of what already exists. It is not motion. It is a change in what is being known. Now, superposition, as I said, you compact everything into one single point, and every image would still exist at that point. The system, reality, God, source, which is being everything, knows it. And your computer is doing the exact same thing. If you were to take an image, a bunch of images, and just put them together to a point where you can't even physically register the image seeing it, but you know it's there, right? Because you're the one that put it there. You will know, that no matter what it looks like, your computer, the hard drive, the memory, the server, the database, the Akashic records, whatever, you know it knows it's all there, exactly how you have it, exactly how it was, exactly as intended, perfect, not confused by the order or by the smallness or bigness that you have considered it by then and there. You know that. So we are the only ones that are capable of actually being confused because we have the ability to be consciously aware that we are conscious. Nothing else is confused. A tree isn't confused of what it is. It's a tree. It's an apple tree. It's an orange tree. A bird isn't confused. It just flies around. We get confused because we have the ability to realize who we are while also being what we are being. So we are technically doing two things. We are recognizing we are source of what we are being, and we are also simultaneously being it. But by being something, you are consciously limiting yourself from being everything while still knowing you are everything. So you get that confusion when you identify with the projection, not the projector. But you are always going to be both. While everything else is being the projection, not knowing it is the projector, that's your gift. That's how you are made in the image of God. God knows it's the projection and the projector, but doesn't get confused. All experiences, all identities, all interpretations, and all events exist within that same infinite knowing. They are not arranged in space or time from the perspective of reality itself, because space and time are simply ways the mind stretches simultaneous existence so it can understand itself. When I say the mind, I don't mean your human mind. I mean the divine mind experiencing itself in a physical form or a limited form from its true self. But it's not one with its true self. It's always one with its true self, but it's only experiencing that bit. Just like on your computer, again, keep going back to that idea. I didn't plan on it, but it works. If you're looking at the screen, you would think that's the only thing going on the screen. It's not. Your computer is doing thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of little things here and there, little processes popping in and out just to keep the system going, checking this, checking that. Even the smallest thing, working the clock. It's doing all of those things. You don't even know, you just think it's showing you that. But it's flickering that thing on and off billions of times all the time for your experiencing of it. It's the same idea that I was listening to people talk about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, and then the higher self, divine mind. I guess those three depictions of it. It's one experience of one mind. Just like how the computer is one experience, the screen, the back end, and whatever it is you are choosing to do on it is one experience. The conscious mind has no power to make the screen what it wants to make, but it has the power to choose what the screen is showing. The subconscious mind, which is the computer hard drive and memory and all of those things, has all the power to show you what you want, but it has no choice because it doesn't choose what to show you. You see, it's 100% and 0 and 0 and 100%. It's 100% choice without any kind of ability to will it into existence physically, while it has 100% of ability to output whatever it wants, but it has zero ability to choose what it's outputting. So you are the chooser. Your higher self or your subconscious mind is the power that you are one with, that unfolds and writes your reality. Now the storage system, as I said, doesn't require any space, even if physical storage systems require space, because pure knowing simply purely knows. It wouldn't need any space. In fact, infinite knowing would require no space whatsoever because it is just infinite. So it doesn't require any kind of containment because it's only giving the form to what it's knowing as a thought compared to itself. You see, that's really the idea. We think that this, because it's so solid to our experiencing of it, that this is reality. Anything we can touch, we can taste, we can smell, that's reality. Anything else can't exist in any other way or form unless we can understand how it exists in that way and form from our way and form. But reality doesn't care. Reality just doesn't care about how we feel, because part of how we feel is part of reality existing in that way anyway. So it's not listening to you complain. You are complaining as reality, invoking a version of reality itself where you are just complaining. So you're not doing anything. You are being reality, calling forth the version of reality that's complaining about reality itself. But reality is a one-of-a-kind being that created the expression from a knowing of infinite versions and variations of other beings. That it is one with, that it is, and that it has created from its infinite self, because that's what it is. It's infinity experiencing itself as infinity. The infinite knowing simply knows what it knows. It doesn't have to have some sort of idea of where to keep its own knowing. It just knows. There's nothing else for it to have learned. It created what we experience learning. So the space in space-time becomes something that appears inside of knowing, not something that contains it. And we can do this. I have a space between my hands. The space between my hands is reality knowing the idea of space between my hands, and I am reality knowing that idea using my hands right now in this moment. Reality is the space in between me, my hands, because that's what reality is being in the moment, including being my hands, me, and reality itself expressed as that idea. It's as simple as that. Because it doesn't need to be more complicated, because complication arises when there are more moving parts for our conscious mind to comprehend. But reality is all moving parts in all reality, in all infinity. It can't get confused. It's the one that created the movement. It knows exactly what it's doing because it's the one that created what it is doing. There's nothing for it to be confused about. The universe is not in space. Space is in the universe. Space is in reality. Space is in awareness. Everything is in knowing. Everything is knowing. Everything is knowing and knowing itself. And knowing is not located anywhere. It's you. Illusion of time. Time appears because awareness experiences reality sequentially. Just like the graph. You experience dot by dot by dot by dot. Even if you know every one of those dots must have appeared and have been there, because the function, the equation, accounts for all points within the equation. It must already exist. We are just becoming aware of the existence of it via an identity that experienced it in that way. That's really what maths is, truly. Maths is recognizing that the equation must have existed, all the points that relate to the equation must have existed, and you are experiencing a version of yourself that now knows and has always known that equation, and has now known and has always known every point of it. That is your desired dream life. You are becoming aware of what your dream life is. You are being the identity who is experiencing that dream life, and you are becoming aware of every single point in that dream life, experiencing, living it. Truly, that is it. And the sequence is that interpretation created by the consciousness that we call the mind, or the divine mind, your higher self, your subconscious self, whichever one you fancy. Because reality is itself not necessarily unfolding step by step. It's all there. It all just exists. What's unfolding step by step is your awareness of this, of each individualized infinite experience of it, over and over and over and over again. And each one of those over and over and over agains, those snapshots of reality, is what we call time, based on how many we experience and how long it took us to experience each and every single one. And depending on how many we experience at any given moment, we call that the experiencing of time. And yes, time is not a function of reality, it is a function of identity. Because everything, depending on how fast it is actually moving, how fast it's being aware of itself, how fast it is just simply existing as, experiences time differently. For example, light, when it starts at point A and finishes at point B, it basically coexists at point A and point B. It doesn't actually experience the distance it travels. It only experiences being at point A and point B. That's it. It has no distance between it. It underwent no time and no distance to get from point A to point B. But from a person's point of view, we watch light go from point A to point B. When we look at the sun, it takes 8 minutes, but the light from the sun instantaneously, from its perspective, got here. So everything is having its own unique expression and experiencing of reality, whether or not it is consciously able to experience itself as reality. It doesn't matter. It is reality. Now, nothing travels through time because time is an arbitrary point. It's part of identity, part of your unique identity. Awareness simply recognizes different aspects of what already is. Now, the thing about the past, I don't know why I did that, cannot actually be revisited. Literally, you can't go back in time. We have the idea of going back in time, but realistically, you're not going back in time. You're going to another moment of now that coexists with a story that you're telling. When something is remembered, the original experience is gone forever. No one remembers it exactly the same because everyone's remembering another version of it in their own way from who they are right now. You are remembering a version of yourself from what you are now consciously choosing to be aware of as yourself right now. You can think about this. You can think about a version of yourself in a childhood memory. You know you weren't thinking and experiencing it like this because you are so consciously aware of what you are now. You can't drop that conscious awareness and be that child version of yourself again. The images, the physical form, the physical things happening may seem as if they are similar to what you probably experienced, but they are recreated right now in the idea of what you think was basically along the lines of what you are imagining. But it's not. It's a new memory right now you are creating from a new version of a past that already existed, and you are imagining it in the way you see yourself, as reality and as a consciousness and as awareness and as a physical form. So it's a new knowing. It's happening now. It's referring to a story that happened before, but you are now recreating it in your own image right now. Just like how God created you, consciousness in its image, you are creating your experiencing of yourself in your image. That's cool. The past is never directly experienced again in that way. You can recreate that past as an experience right now, not necessarily you being a little child again, but the version and what you are experiencing as that identity, you exist as that right now. And reality only exists as present knowing. Now, the role of action, this is a bit of a touchy one. Certain actions appear very logical. And yeah, in the moment they are quite logical, and those are the things that you typically just naturally do. But they are within the identity. You exist, you are thirsty, you drink water, seemingly quite logical, part of the natural unfolding. Yeah, sure. Studying, practicing, exercising, and developing skills, they all seem like they are action that causes some sort of thing to produce the identity. Oh no, this person works really hard, he's going to be that really powerful person or whatever. But no, they're already the powerful person. Those expressions are coming from identity. A person who works hard doesn't work hard to become a person who works hard. You are that identity. That's why you work hard, regardless of how hard you're currently working. Just because you may work half as hard as somebody else in that moment doesn't mean you aren't working at your flat out maximum that represents that identity in this moment. So what you are doing is basically judging yourself compared to someone else, but you can only ever know who you are. So from within that moment, they do appear like steps, but they're not steps toward, they are steps of. From the larger perspective, they are simply what that identity looks like live in action. You are that person. It doesn't mean that you don't practice. It doesn't mean that you don't study. It doesn't mean that you don't exercise. It doesn't mean that you don't develop those skills. It means all those things are natural to that person that already is that. Not that you do all those things to be that. And we have this other idea of luck. Human beings divide events into two categories: logical actions and luck. Practice, effort, learning, and discipline. Logical actions. Luck. Meeting the right person, unexpected opportunity, being discovered, and being in the right place at the right time. Or dressing for the job, as a popular one as well. Here's the thing, as reality, there is no action that creates more reality. That means any action that is experienced in the three-dimensional experiencing of the world must only ever come from identity, which includes discipline and meeting people and effort and unexpected opportunities and practicing and being discovered. All of that comes from identity. Meeting a publisher or a coach, they're no less part of being a writer or an athlete than practicing or training. It all unfolds naturally. It's not luck. It's not the idea that you may hear sports people who didn't cross the finish line first. Say, oh no, if I met that person, or if I had this person in my life, if I had this, if I met them, if I had these teammates, if I had, they are being the identity that if I had. If they were being the identity, which they are as well, simultaneously as in I am that version, they would have met versions of people that they already had in their life, or completely different people who are already those versions of themselves, who are part of them being who they desire to be. Because it all just exists. The difference is the difference is only that some elements appear controllable, as in your own practicing, while others appear unexpected. But that's not true. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you don't have the physical energy to put the effort in. Sometimes you don't want to learn something. Sometimes you don't want to be disciplined and you just want to do something else for a moment. That's all good. It doesn't create more undisciplinedness. It doesn't unlearn something. It doesn't de-effort anything. It doesn't unpractice you. In reality, both belong equally to the identity being experienced. Only ever I am. And I am. Circumstances, emotions, thoughts do not determine identity. So whatever you are experiencing doesn't determine who you are. The emotions you're feeling about it, about yesterday or tomorrow and today, don't determine who you are. And the thoughts about what you are feeling and the circumstances that are happening or not happening don't determine anything either. They are simply experiences occurring as awareness, not within. Even memories do not define identity, because memories do not themselves create or are creations of reality as in being objective. They are recreated each time they are known. Nothing that appears within experience is anything but the self being it. They are all expressions appearing within the field of knowing. Even your own intelligence of reading language. Source is being a physical you that understands English. Source is being the English so you can read it and understand. And the English is being the version of it that you desire it to be, to know yourself as who you are now. It's always that. It's only ever I am as I am being something, so I am is remembering what it's being. It's always that. It's always I am. It's only ever I am anything. Because non-existence can't exist, so anything that must be I am being it. It's quite melodic in a sense. I am is everything. It's a very like kind of dance kind of thing. Imagination as evidence of infinite knowing demonstrates the open nature of awareness. So new scenes, new ideas, new interpretations, new narratives. There's no final thought, there's no final fact, because a fact means that there is an objective reality of experience right now that exists, that is separate from every subjective experience everyone else is having. Not true. There's one objective reality, and that's reality itself, all existing. Awareness can always imagine again, and it always is imagining again, because when you are imagining a dead end, you are imagining a dead end again. This shows that knowing itself has no natural endpoint. Why would there be an endpoint in infinity? And what would that endpoint look like? Well done, you've reached infinity. Oh, look, there's still more to go. And the brain's a fun thing, right? Because the brain appears to explain how consciousness functions. We have ideas like, oh, the brain named itself. Cool, right? But the brain itself is part of the imagination's representation of how knowing appears to operate. The brain is therefore an image within awareness, a symbolic explanation of cognition. The brain is recreated in every single moment of now, as imagination has desired itself to be. You are imagination desiring yourself to be in a certain way, so you are recreating your brain in a certain way that either understands or doesn't understand whatever it's experiencing, but you are the one experiencing it and creating it that way. A representation of how knowing appears to structure itself. It is not the origin of awareness, but part of the way awareness interprets its own functioning. Yes, all things are possible, even you experiencing yourself as a genius version of yourself. It just exists. It's a conscious calling forth from acceptance all things exist. Why science will always find evidence for its assumptions. When I say science, I mean people within scientific expressions of themselves who are investigating the physical processes that produce consciousness. Experiments will always find correlations between brain activity and conscious experience. Because consciousness and brain activity are happening in this now moment. You aren't experiencing what the brain is thinking now that consciousness is going to do later. And you aren't seeing what the brain is doing now that consciousness was thinking earlier. You are seeing in real time a one-to-one expression of brain activity and consciousness happening as consciousness being brain activity right now. It's a one-to-one. One does not produce the other. If one produced the other, there'll be a lag time. If the other produced the one, there'd be a lag time. But there's no lag time. There's no next moment of reality happening before we get there. It's only now. So since reality contains all possible interpretations, then evidence will always appear consistent within the framework used to investigate it. Basically, if you have an idea and you believe this idea to be searchable, the idea and searchability of said idea must actually exist, otherwise you wouldn't be able to contemplate the idea having existed while you're not able to get there. The fact that you got there in knowing means you have already unfolded a path to know it. Now you are experiencing the physical expression of that. So if one searches for a physical mechanism, mechanisms will be found. because you couldn't come up with the idea of a physical mechanism of consciousness, were the expression of how consciousness mechanically functions already existing, because the interpretation itself exists within the total field of reality. Anything that can be searched for must exist in awareness as a possibility. Somehow, some way, the way you are defining it to a very minuscule detail. Yeah, Santa Claus exists, why can't I find him? Because you're starting with the premise that he doesn't exist, you're trying to find this thing that you can't find. It's part of the assumption. It's like, no, but what if I drop the assumption that I can find him? That's up to you then, not me. If you can drop the assumption that Santa Claus exists and you can find him, then that expression of reality must exist. Say, no, but I went to the North Pole to find this place that I can't find. Yes, you are. It's very. It can annoy you to the point where you have to really consciously recognize what assumptions you are holding about what you are doing, and you're the only person that can do that. You truly are the only person that can see your own assumptions about the assumptions that you are having. But if you always start from a blank slate and say, I'm choosing these assumptions, anything else that I have about these assumptions are no longer who I am. But because you can assume, those things must be findable. The reality functions as the field of the findable, because you have already found the ending of what you wanted to find, as in the idea. Whatever is investigated will reveal structure, because the potential for that discovery already exists within the totality of reality. The only thing that cannot be proven. Every piece of evidence appears inside awareness, and it's like this endless debate on this thing for whatever reason. Therefore, awareness itself cannot be proven using external evidence, because awareness does not exist within the internal experiencing of itself. Not even internal, just like the overlying framework of whatever's going on. It is the condition that makes evidence possible. It is the thing as to why we are even conscious in the first place and why everything exists. It exists everywhere, so you can't necessarily find it, because you are looking as existence, trying to find existence. You're trying to find the cause of existence as the cause of existence. Everything else will and probably can be found, proof and explanation of it. Awareness alone is self-evident. It is existence simply as knowing. You know that you are aware. You know that you are conscious. And you are using that same consciousness to know where and what reality is, instead of asking, who am I as this awareness? There's no separation between observer moving through realities or observers moving through reality, because there are infinite observers as reality, and there are infinite realities with one observer as I am, but they're all one. Reality is the knowing and the known simultaneously. See, every single point is an observer of whatever it's experiencing, but it's all part of the one. The one knowing, not experiencing a point, but being everything, knowing everything that is being is observing itself. Curiosity, investigation, creativity, and discovery are simply ways reality articulates itself through different perspectives. Every perspective is reality knowing itself in a different way. From this view, reality is an infinite knowing requiring no space, containing all possible identities, expressing itself as all experiences. Every event, idea, interpretation, discovery, and perspective is part of that same infinite self-experience. Nothing exists outside of it. Final principle. Reality is the totality of what can be known and the act of knowing it. There is no separation between observer and the world. There is only infinite knowing experiencing itself endlessly. And because knowing never ends, reality never stops knowing. Forever. Now, all of that, 39 minutes to get to this. 39 minutes to get to this point here, which is the one that people really want to jump to. But I just wanted to explain the whole thing of whatever it is I know, like succinctly, in one go, just for the sake of it, just for the fun of it as well. Manifestation made simple. Manifestation is simply understanding reality from this perspective. Whatever you are contemplating yourself. The assumption you choose about who and what you are in your imagination, as awareness, as reality, as God, as source, is your reality. Because it's what you are choosing to now consciously be aware of as yourself. It already exists in the infinite field of potential, otherwise you couldn't be aware of it. Consciously imagining it is lighting it up, is calling it into being. Your life will unfold exactly as that story you are now imagining, because that's the only thing your three-dimensional reality is being, the story you are telling, because it already exists in said way. Going to the end and staying there, go to the end and stay there, imagining your end being that identity and staying in that end, is you being it within your own awareness, as the version of yourself you have now chosen to be. And that's really it. That's the entirety of it. Your reality, every single thing accounted for, because it's just reality knowing itself. And when you make a choice that I am this version of myself, and I am it now, that's who I am. I have a past and a future that is this identity. Anytime you think, well, what about all the things that didn't manifest or manifested? That is a past and a future of a version of yourself that you are currently being aware of, that is no longer your choice or preference, and it's already gone. It's already different in the moment. It's already changed. Reality is perpetually changing. But what it perpetually changes into, in who you identify as yourself in this now moment. So no matter what you are feeling, just innately, and those intrinsic thoughts that pop in and out, they don't matter. Because you know what you are consciously going to assume of yourself. You know what you are assuming of yourself to be. You know what you are choosing. And if you are choosing, you are being. And if you are being, you are sowing. And if you are sowing, you are knowing yourself as the source of your reality. And that's really the point. I am... Oops, I didn't make a loud noise. I am Reese. This is Reaction Reality with your host, Reese. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the love, thank you for the light, thank you for being the light and love in your own life and mine too. Thank you for the comments, thank you for sharing, thank you for liking, thank you for joining the TikTok page, thank you for all the people joining the Facebook group, thank you for the emails, and I will see you all in the next one.